Today I'm going to talk about Pentominoes. What is a Pentomino? A Pentomino is a shape made out of 5 equal squares connected side by side. You can think of it as a domino, but with number 5 instead of 2. If you applied number 4 instead, that would indicate the Tetrominoes. I'm sure you're familiar with them thanks to a certain video game. Anyway, there are a total of 12 Pentomino shapes, and if you're familiar with 2D packers like I am, you see these shapes all the time. In this video, I'd like to talk about a particular type of 2D packer, a classic. It's a problem of packing all 12 Pentominoes inside a rectangle. This problem is featured in lots of puzzle toys, and the puzzle I am going to showcase in this video is also one of them. It's called Eccentric Pentominoes. When it comes to puzzle designs, one of the objective criteria of integrity is the number of solutions. Even though there isn't really a rule about this or anything, most puzzle designers try to ensure that their puzzles have as few solutions as possible, or preferably a unique solution. So, how many solutions does our Pentomino packing puzzle have? 1010. That's way too many. I mean, I still like how all 12 Pentominoes can neatly fit inside a rectangle, and despite the number of solutions, it's not necessarily trivial. But is this really the best we can do? And what's so special about Eccentric Pentominoes that makes it one of the most loved 2D packers in Mechanical Puzzles Discord? Hajime Katsumoto, the designer of this puzzle, applied a slight modification to the classic 5x12 packing puzzle. He squished it. What's amazing about this is, this minor change cut the number of solutions from 1010 all the way down to 1. The puzzle comes in an almost solved state. 11 out of 12 pieces are already placed, and all you need to do is just fit the remaining piece. But wait, you can't actually fit it in, because the piece was squished in the wrong way. Comes with the puzzle is a small letter, apologizing about a misprinted piece. Well, isn't this a shame? Looks like I need to send it back for a refund. Just kidding, of course, I just need to find the correct placements. So let's take all the pieces out and get started. Like I mentioned before, this puzzle has only one solution. But even considering that, you'd find it really difficult to find a valid placement. It seems that the designer very carefully chose in which direction each piece needed to be squished. Not long after I started solving, I noticed something odd. When you place pieces like this, the lines seem to align even though they are placed in the wrong orientations. To be precise, the small rectangle has the aspect ratio of 2:3. Very suspicious. If you place 60 of these small rectangles like this group of 6 rectangles form a square. In other words, they can be freely rotated without changing the overall shape. We are dealing with Pentominoes, which consist of 5 small rectangles. 5 and 6 are co-prime. This means, if any of these groups of 6 rectangles are supposed to be rotated, the number of the rotated groups must be a multiple of 5. Now comes what I call metagaming. It's about thinking from the designer's perspective in hopes of gaining intuitions to help solve a puzzle. For example, when I solve Yu Asaka's packing puzzles, I generally expect there to be a twist. This background knowledge helps me solve their puzzles faster. Of course, this does not always apply, so you shouldn't rely too much on it. Back to our puzzle. If I were the designer, which of these would I choose? Rotate 5 groups. This seems to be the most reasonable path. After all, this rotates exactly half of the small rectangles. Rotate 10 groups. This is not possible. The maximum number of groups you can rotate is 8. Rotate no groups. If the main target audience was people who metagame designers, maybe I can try to pull a double trap on them and just make a regular Pentomino packer. In this case, the twist is the fact that there is no twist. I don't know, this is probably too much. It may also be possible that some rectangles are rotated in weird and janky shapes, but I didn't want to think about that for the time being. Which 5 of these groups should we rotate? There are a few different ways. For starters, these groups need to be connected together. Why? Because if the groups are separated, each of them would contain not a multiple of 5 rectangles, so they can't be formed with Pentominoes. There should be 2 groups above and 3 groups below. If you put 3 groups above, the top row cannot be packed. Placing 4 groups on the bottom might be possible, but from what I've tried, you can't form the 5th group this way. Also, you can't isolate the right section like this. Why? There are 15 rectangles on the right side. 15 is a multiple of 5, so this side must be self-contained. But if you form a 3x5 rectangle like this section can now be flipped and rotated, independent of the rest of the shape. This would mean there are multiple solutions. Remember when I mentioned this puzzle has a unique solution? Enough planning, let's try packing. The top left side can only be filled by the line piece. With some effort, while also recognizing that I shouldn't isolate the 3x5 rectangle by itself, I was able to pack non-rotated part of the area. Now I just need to pack the rest with a different orientation. And here it is. All 12 pieces are now packed neatly inside the frame. This completes the puzzle. That was Eccentric Pentominoes. In this video, I showed how you can save yourself trials and errors while solving puzzles by metagaming and some planning ahead. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching and have a good rest of the day.